Hello, everyone. This is Sam over at our channel, and we are looking at our next week, which has some very interesting things happening. We have the new moon in Scorpio to look at, Mercury moving signs into Scorpio, lots of air energy, lots of water energy. It's going to be a week of communication. So let's break it down. And as always, I have time-stamped each individual aspect below in Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to convert for your time zone. And if you'd like to schedule a consult, check up with some of your astrology, you can always do so at sambellier.com. Okay, let's go ahead and pull up the chart for our Monday, and let's start looking at some of those aspects. So when we look at Monday, this is going to be one of our biggest air days of the week. We have Saturn stationing in Aquarius, which is absolutely huge. Saturn as Lord of Restriction is no longer super heavy. Retrograde, which has been the case for quite a while, quite a few months. And now we're going to start getting that forward direction of Saturn, but not just the forward direction. Saturn will then complete its journey through Aquarius and move into Pisces eventually next year. So we have lots of good time of Saturn being exalted in Aquarius in a nice strong sign that Saturn rules, and things are just starting to right themselves astrologically. So that's great. Then we have from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 3 back-to-back air aspects. We have the moon trining Saturn, we have the moon conjoining Mercury, and then the moon trining Mars, all in air signs. Air is the element of communication. It's the element of the mind. It's the element of exchange and exchanging ideas, thoughts, words, concepts, getting things down on paper. Excellent day for you to send emails, excellent day for you to make phone calls, to follow up, to jog people's memories, to jog people's minds. Monday during this pocket from 7 to 7 is going to be one of the best times to really get a lot of communication headway, which I really like. Now, we will be burnt out towards the end of it. At 8:34 p.m., the moon makes a square to Pluto, the planet of the subconscious. It's going to poop us out just a little bit. So we really have to kind of gather ourselves back in. The night's going to be a little bit tricky with Pluto, but overall, great day on Monday. Now, Tuesday, we have almost the exact opposite vibe happening, which is going to be everybody in their feelings. You can see up top in the chart how the sun, Venus, and the moon are all coming together in Scorpio. So that's what we're going to talk about. So we have the moon moving into Scorpio at 3:18 a.m., which should give us a very deep and restful sleep because we like the moon being in a water sign. Although if you are dealing with unprocessed emotions right now, the moon in Scorpio will be bringing those up to the surface in the dream state. You may also notice a heightening of intuition as we have so much happening in Scorpio. But not only do we have the moon moving into Scorpio, but the moon will conjoin the sun in Scorpio at 6:48 a.m., making the new moon, where the moon is behind the sun and not visible in the night sky. The new moon in Scorpio is one of the deepest and darkest points of our year. This is kind of the pre-Halloween. Halloween is a good way to think of it. We do have eclipses happening this year in Scorpio Taurus as well, but this is the start of it. It's not an eclipse yet, but it is getting close. And halfway through the month, in about 15 days, we're going to get that full eclipse energy on. But now we prep, now we purge. Scorpio is the sign of digging into the heart, the deepest, darkest layers of the heart and the subconscious, and really getting messy with those concepts of self and feeling. So moon into Scorpio conjoins the sun, then conjoins Venus at 8:03 a.m., and then leaves us alone for the rest of the day. No more aspects, to just process, to just stew, to just cook, to just soak, right? All of those watery terms. It's a very emotional, very intuitive, very watery day. So moving on to Wednesday, we have a little bit of weirdness happening on Wednesday. So we'll break that down. Wednesday, we have at 2:29 a.m. the moon conjoining the South Node in Scorpio. So the South Node is our point of purging. and this will kind of echo Tuesday's energy. But as we get to the morning of Wednesday in Eastern Standard Time at 9:33, the moon will oppose Uranus, and then at 11:28 a.m., the moon will square Saturn. This is a pocket of tension. This is a pocket of friction between the outer planets where Uranus brings about unpredictability and Saturn brings conflict with authority figures. So we have a pocket of tension on Wednesday morning that should be prepared for. Try not to schedule meetings for that time. And if things are happening at that time, just understand that you should be buffering with self-care before and after, really putting your best foot forward and making sure that you're not caught in that friction. However, by the time the night rolls around, we have chef's kiss, great way to recover. 7:04 a.m., the moon will trine retrograde Neptune, really letting us get lost in the sleepy vibes, the spiritual kind of in-between vibes of hookah smoking caterpillars that Neptune really kind of brings to the surface. Very Alice in Wonderland energy, very kind of deep dive into the self, very reflective. Am I here, not here? What am I? Kind of looking on to the greater universe. And then just before midnight at 8:24, Mercury and Libra will make a trine to Mars and Gemini, another communication-based transit. So as we come out the other end of this kind of really watery period on Tuesday and a little bit of friction because of those emotions heightening, we have another round of just really nice, helpful air energy to help flush and move and keep circulating. And that's really the theme of our earlier week, is just keep things moving. But you can't keep things moving unless you pay attention to them. And the new moon really wants us to pay attention to the things that are in the shadows. Okay, moving into Thursday, we start to move into our fire-based aspects as the moon changes signs. So on Thursday, just after midnight, the moon will sextile Pluto and Scorpio, another really nice indication that we're going to have some very deep dreaming. But then early on Thursday morning, Eastern Standard, at 6:54, the moon goes into Sagittarius, and then 6:59, the moon makes a trine to Jupiter in Aries. So Jupiter, as ruler of Sagittarius, the moon's sign, there's going to be that heated combustive aspect that really helps to stimulate the heart, maybe overstimulating the heart just a little bit, because then Mercury squares Pluto right after it at 9 a.m., like 9:07 a.m. So we have this heat coming to the surface on Thursday morning, lots of Jupiterian energy, lots of expansion, lots of foolish kind of Sagittarius Aries combo energy. Reckless would be a good way to say it. But after a lot of heavy water, like sometimes you just got to light a match and ignite the gasoline. And that's what's kind of happening on Thursday morning. Doesn't look like it's going to bode well. Mercury, planet of the mind, will be squaring Pluto, the planet of the subconscious. I think that people will be out of their minds on Thursday morning, and we just need to prepare for that. The rest of the day, though, is perfectly fine. The moon in Sagittarius throughout the rest of the day will give us a nice kind of foolish, lighthearted energy, mutable fire, very inspired, very humorous, very, very kind of lighthearted rest of the day. So that's good. Now let's talk about Friday, the start of our change, the start of some really delicious things happening. So at 1:10 a.m., Jupiter retrogrades back into Pisces, the sign of his rulership. Now, this happened back in March, April, May timeframe, right? When Jupiter was in Pisces, we had surges of abundance. We had a lot of really expansive, but also deeply emotional themes happening. And now Jupiter is going back to wrap those things up. So Jupiter moving into Pisces Friday at 9 really gives us, or early morning, Friday at 9, or again, 9 o'clock, Friday at 1 a.m. Eastern, we have a rehashing of those transits from earlier this year, specifically around the last degrees of Pisces. So think of what was happening in May, early part of May, before Jupiter moved into Aries, and you'll get an idea of what we need to go back and kind of fix, right? So after that, Moon in Sagittarius makes a sextile to Saturn, then, which, little bit of focus, Nice. And then the moon will square Neptune in the evening. So Friday, we have some themes of miscommunication happening. We have some weird waffling, some easier to be misunderstood circumstances happening astrologically. So just be on the lookout for that. But the larger transit of Jupiter moving into Pisces is the showstopper. And for any of you water signs or even Sagittarius, like, understand that if you have Jupiter prominent in your chart, or if you've been waiting for another kind of abundant transit, everything moving into water right now is where it's at, and Jupiter is not the exception. Just adding layer upon layer of all of that. So now we move to Saturday. Saturday is our busiest day, just like it was last week. If you look at the transits, we have 8 of them, just like last week, which is hilarious. Saturday seems to be the day that just everything is deciding to just do things. Overnight, we have some trickiness. The moon will oppose Mars overnight, and then in the morning we have everything kind of straightening out as the moon sextiles Mercury, but the moon will also square newly ingressed Jupiter in Pisces from that same sign that it was just a couple days ago. So on Thursday, we had a positive fire aspect between the moon and Jupiter. But on Saturday, we have a frictionous aspect between the moon, ruled by Sagittarius, and now Jupiter in Pisces, that water, fire, steam combo that we saw a lot happening throughout March, April, and May. So what does that look like for you? Well, it seems like a lot of this chaos, a lot of this kind of back and forth will be mitigated as we move into 9:21 a.m. and the moon shifting into Capricorn. This is when things are going to get more business oriented, things are going to get more focused, things are going to get more grounded, which is an energy that I think we need after so much water, so much air, and then fire. We then start to move into the last part of our week, embodying earth, embodying solidity, embodying slowdown, which we'll get into next. So speaking of slowdown, at 9:25 a.m., so much happening around 9 o'clock on Saturday. So watch 9 o'clock on Saturday as a really active time astrologically. But Mars will station in Gemini. Mars will be retrograde in Gemini in just a few days as we start our Monday at 9:25 on Monday. But Mars, the planet of action, stationing in Gemini, just as everything moves out of Libra, its opposing sign, tells us that the pressure is off and we can now go back and fix the things that we were too scattered to really tackle head on the first time, right? Which I think is great, especially now that Saturn's direct. Everything is moving forward. Even Jupiter, who's about to go direct in a couple weeks and move through Pisces in an exalted way again, is really saying, Mars, hey, like, you've been on the warpath. Let's take a chill pill. Now, even Mercury, who normally likes to be in an air sign, is done with the air signs. Mercury will be moving into Scorpio at 3:22 p.m. in the afternoon. The mind moving into the depths of Scorpio really echoes what the new moon was trying to tell us earlier on Tuesday. And when the mind goes into Scorpio, it really has the ability to access the unconscious. So throughout this week, I'd really like you to focus on this idea of what unfinished emotional and mental business you may have, especially if you've been watching astrology for a while and you understand your relationship to Scorpio in your chart, or you understand that sign's archetype. Dig deep, find the venom, transmute it into medicine, figure out what the depths of fixed water have in store for you. Couple sextiles as the moon makes some friendly aspects to the sun in Scorpio and Venus in Scorpio throughout the evening. Give us a nice, pleasant evening to finish out Saturday, but lots of change happening in Saturday. So let's go ahead and move to Sunday, our last day, which is our chillest day of the week by far. Moon in Capricorn makes a trine to the North Node in Taurus, helping us to focus on the future, and then doesn't make another aspect until a nice sextile with Neptune at 11:50 just before midnight, helping us slide into sleep nice and easy. I love Sunday. I think it's going to be a really lazy Sunday, but also driven. Like, it's a really good thing to do homey stuff, to do the things that you've been putting off, because that earth energy will give you the stamina in order to do it. But it's not a pressured rushing around. It's just tying up the loose ends. It's just doing what you can. It's nothing crazy, nothing fancy, maybe going to the hardware store and getting some projects tackled and out of the way, just super nonchalant, right? But a nice easygoing trot, as opposed to the franticness that we saw earlier in the week. And nothing really to trip us up, just a steady vision for the future. So, ending on a nice note. And that is our week's forecast. I hope that you continue to enjoy these. Let me know how last week was for you, and let me know how you fare against that new moon in Scorpio, and what things you're doing to investigate some of those deeper, darker themes. But in the meantime, I hope that you have a fabulous week, and may the stars be ever in your favor.